A very good evening to all my dear students. So today is the fifth session for chapter number 9. I welcome you all to today's session. So I can see Darshan, Sankaran, Rajiv, Bhumika, Diksha, Sudhanshu. These students have already joined. Others also, please join. So today, with respect to this chapter, chapter number 9, we will be finishing off with the verification of balance sheet captions, whereby we are left with one item of balance sheet, that is provisions and contingent liability. Thereafter, we'll be starting with the income statement captions, right? But before that, I would like all of you to send in your replies as to whether the homework that was given to you in the last session, that is, you were supposed to read the entire module till page number 9.75, till where we have covered in the last 4 sessions. Okay? So tell me whether you all have gone through the module. This is my first question to all of you. Second, yesterday I have uploaded all the questions, the case scenario, the MCQ, descriptive type. Have you all gone through those questions? Has any one of you tried to attempt those questions? Because I've uploaded the answer sheet also. So answer to both these things, then we will start with the today's topic. So Himanshu is saying, ma'am, done. Dikshita is saying, ma'am, I have read. Ma'am, questions are not available. Bhumika, please check them. Yesterday only I have uploaded them on the questions, and the file start as chapter 9 and space descriptive question, chapter 9 MCQ. Others, please tell me whether you have gone through the questions, whether you are able to download the files, the assignments. Quickly send in your replies. Students, please reply. With respect to the questions, whether you have got them or not. So, chalo, I'll get your answers. Meanwhile, let us start with this topic for today. And many of you have answered that. Darshan is saying, ma'am, completed reading the study material except loans and current assets. So many of you are saying that you all have gone through the module. So I'll check, Hana, if any of you have not received the questions. I'll share the file within the session also, and I'll check with the IT also. So the today's topic is what? Provisions and contingent liabilities. And in the last session, with respect to this particular topic, we have discussed a topic of what? Management's expert relating to SA 500, right? So tell me quickly now, send in your replies. What do you understand by the term provision or the term contingent liability? So whatever knowledge you have with respect to term provisions, contingent liabilities, quickly, just 30 seconds, then I'll proceed. Okay. So see students, when we were doing the verification with respect to reserves, remember reserves and surplus that we did as the second topic, Anna. So there we have understood that reserves are what? Appropriations out of profits. Which are available for as free for distribution as dividend, the revenue reserves, right? Remember, and they are not as such reserved to meet any liability, right? Now, what are provisions? So provisions are the charge against the profits. This is a profit. Provision are what? These are the charge against the profits which are set for the purpose of meeting any expense which is likely to happen, right? So a liability that is likely to happen, and that can be measured by using a substantial degree of estimation. आप estimate कर सकते हो, as such exact amount is not known. So the company will provide for what? Provision. What is the actual definition of provision? That we will go through the module. But try to understand the difference between reserves and surplus. So reserves are what? These are appropriations out of profit, whereas provisions are charge against the profit with respect to an expense that is likely to happen, but that can be ascertained only with a substantial degree of estimation, right? Now, where some liability is likely to happen, but the happening of that liability is dependent upon the happening or non-happening of another event which is outside the control of the entity. So in that case, the company will not provide for such an expense, but it will show it as a what? Contingent liability. We will try to understand this with the help of an example, Hana. So this is what? Contingent liability. Okay. So let us have a look at the definition first with respect to provision. A provision is a liability which can be measured only by using a substantial degree of estimation, right? So a provision is recognized when an entity has a present obligation as a result of past event. It is probable that an outflow of resources embodying economic benefits will be required to settle the obligation. And so this is connected by the term and. So all the three conditions should be present. A reliable estimate can be made of the amount of the obligation. If the above conditions are not met, no provision should be recognized. Okay. Example is what? Provision for litigation or provision for warranties. Now let us try to understand this definition with the help of example relating to provision for warranties. Anna? So let's say this company, it is selling what? Let's say some cylinders, right? Okay. Now the company has given a warranty at the time of sale that to the purchaser that in case of any repair or replacement, the company will make good for that repair or replacement if that occurs within a time span of, let's say, 2 years from purchase. Okay. Now an entity has a present obligation कि कुछ warranty या कुछ repair करना पड़ेगा based on the past experience. So there is what? Present obligation. As a result of past event, what was the past event? That sale was done along with what? Warranty. Right? It is probable that the outflow of resources will be required to settle the obligation. So based on the past experience, the experience with respect to the last years, it is probable. Probable is what? More likely than not. That is what? Probability is more than 50%. More likely than not. Okay. So probability is more than 50% that the company will have to settle this obligation by way of outflow of resources, right? And the reliable estimate of that amount of obligation can be made. Only estimate, but that is what? Reliable. Okay. So if all these conditions are satisfied, then a provision will be created. For example, provision for litigation या provision for warranties, है ना? Past में sale किया था along with the warranty. So present obligation क्या है कि company को हो सकता है कि कुछ repair, replacement, purchases को करके देना पड़े. Based on the past experience, it is probable, that is, the chances are more likely than not, more than 50%, that there will be outflow of the economic benefits, that is outflow of funds will be there, and a reliable estimate can be made with respect to such amount. So the company is going to make a provision. Clear hai? Is it clear? Okay. Now in the same example, if these two conditions are not satisfied, that is, there is an obligation, but it is not probable that there will be an outflow of resources, or a reliable estimate cannot be made. So the company will not provide for it in the books of accounts. The company will show it as a contingent liability. Now let us have a look at the definition of contingent liability, and then we'll try to understand this again with the help of another example. So I'm on second point. So contingent liability is a present obligation that arises from past event, but it is not recognized because, that is, it is not provided for in the books of account because it is not probable that an outflow of resources will be required to settle the obligation. So it is not probable. The chances are not more than 50%, or the amount of obligation cannot be measured with sufficient reliability. So these two conditions are, either of these two conditions are not satisfied, then the company will will show it as what? A contingent liability. Continue with the same example only with respect to contingent liability also. Okay? Now with respect to the first point. So it says a contingent liability is a possible obligation that arises from the past events and whose existence will be confirmed only by the occurrence or non-occurrence of one or more uncertain future events, not wholly within the control of the entity. So the first part says, let's say, take an example of a suit or a litigation that is going against the company. So if the company loses that case, then the company will have to pay for the compensation. Okay? So a possible obligation that the company has to pay certain obligation compensation arising of the past event. Let's say some cylinder was burst and the customer has filed a complaint, whose existence will be confirmed only by the occurrence or non-occurrence of one or more uncertain future events, whether the company will win the case or company will lose the case, not wholly within the control of the entity, which is not wholly within the control of the entity. So in this case also, the company will not provide for it in the books of accounts, but the company will show it as a contingent liability. Okay? So to provide for any liability in the P&L, all the three conditions, that is present obligation arising out of past event, probable that the outflow of resources will be required to settle the obligation, and so this is connected by the term and, so all the three conditions should be satisfied. A reliable estimate of the amount can be made. So if all these three conditions are satisfied, the company will provide for it in the P&L. Otherwise, if these two conditions are not satisfied, the second and the third one, any of these, the company will show it as a contingent liability, and where there is a possible obligation, but whether it will be there or not, it will be confirmed by happening or non-happening, occurrence or non-occurrence of future event, which is uncertain, not wholly within the control of the entity. So now whether the company will lose the case or it will win the case, it is not within the hands of the company, entity. Okay? So in this case, it will be shown as a contingent liability. Okay? So tell me whether it is clear, the definition of the term provision and contingent liability. So this definition is given in your module. Tell me, is it clear? Now, just keep in mind these definitions. And now, as I always ask you to start thinking as to you are the auditor of A Limited. While verifying the provisions and contingent liability, let's say I'm not talking about various assertions, basically specific assertions basically. So just tell me what all steps come to your mind कि आपको provision contingent liability check करना है. I'm not saying कि ये वाला particular assertion check करना है, ठीक है? Tell me what all documents come to your mind. One point we have covered in the last session, so I want you to include that point in while you reply. So Akshay, Syed, Darshan, Shubham, Manisha, Rajiv, Bhumika, Diksha, they are saying, ma'am, it is clear. So that's good. Now tell me what all documents come to your mind. And student, please, many of you are saying that, ma'am, we are actually able to think as to what will be the answer, and they are happy to know that whatever is written in the module, they are able to think on the same lines. Okay? So how this has been possible? Because since the very first session that we had for this chapter, we are doing this exercise, that I'm asking you to first visualize yourself in a situation whereby you are actually verifying, let's say, the provision contingent liability of a company. And if you do it like that only, this is going to help you in your examination also. Okay? So Sayyid Yasir is saying, ma'am, previous year balance sheet. Okay? So Darshan is saying, basis on which provision is made. So I can say the various assumptions. Hana? Others also please reply. Others also please reply. To litigation is going on or not. Diksha is saying, so I can ask the management to provide me with all the documents relating to litigation, है ना? Same way अगर warranties है, so documents relating to warranties, correct? ठीक है? If the work of any expert has been used, management has hired any expert, है ना? In order to tell them with respect to provision contingent liability that whether the company will win the lose. Let's say some legal expert are hired, so I'll ask the management to provide me with the reports of those experts, correct, whether the provisions that have been made, the policy that has been used is consistent, comparing with it with the last year. Manisha is saying, okay. List of Himanshu Singh ma'am, obtain a list from management, probable amount of compensation क्या है, reliability of management expert, degree of reliability in estimation. Absolutely correct, absolutely correct. ठीक है? So now let us have a look as to how the same is given. ठीक है? So this we have done the definitions with respect to the term provisions and contingent liability. So देखो सबसे पहले तो ना, if I am being asked ना that how I'll conduct, so first of all तो I'll ask the management to provide me with the list of all the provisions and contingent liability. So I'll obtain a list of all the provisions, compare them with the balances appearing in the general ledger. ठीक है? Underlying document. Underlying is what? The basis with respect to like basically if any provision has been created. So whatever are the documents which are basically the foundation of providing for such provision, underlying agreement, है ना? Let's say if warranty का case है, then the agreement with the customers, है ना? Underlying working and basis, है ना? Whether it is complete and accurate, expert का report, calculation, working, warranty involving, for example, in case of warranty involving complex calculations, so auditor can always ask for the expert's report and the calculations also. Okay? If any actuary has been involved, then the actuarial valuation report auditor can always ask. If any legal expert was involved, then the assessment of that legal expert and verify the assumptions used by the expert or the management. Clear hai? Is it clear? Okay. Now, when here we talk about expert, so here we are talking about what? Management's expert. And when this topic comes, then SA 500 should immediately strike to all of you. That is with respect to what? Audit evidence, whereby we have studied that when the auditor is using the work of the management expert, the auditor needs to obtain audit evidence with respect to 3 points. That is, he should evaluate the competence, capability, objectivity of the expert. He should obtain an understanding of the work of the expert, and he should evaluate the appropriateness of the expert's work. Okay? So what is contained in this? Let us have a look. So when we are saying that the auditor needs to evaluate the competence, capabilities, objectivity, है ना, कि whether this expert can do this work or not. Objectivity, whether he can give an unbiased opinion or report or not. That is whether he is independent. So first of all, auditor will see whether the expert is employed within the organization or is it an outside party. See, this is going to have an impact on the objectivity of the expert now. The independence, है ना? Auditor's previous experience of expert work. Let's say last year also the auditor has used the work of this expert and he found it satisfactory. So this is going to help the auditor in deciding as to whether this evidence can be used as management expert or vice versa. Let's say last year the auditor was not satisfied. So this time he'll perform what additional audit procedures. The knowledge of the expert, the qualification and the membership. Last time I gave you an example now that let's see legal expert का कोई opinion ये है and they are what the member of Bar Council of India है ना, with a situation whereby a report has been taken and that particular expert, let's say, is just an intern है ना, so obviously on whom the auditor is going to rely on the qualified person है ना. So knowledge of the expert, the qualification or the membership. Obtain understanding of work of expert. So first of all, whether auditor has the expertise to understand the expert's work है ना. So if it might be possible that the auditor is not having that expertise, then auditor can always hire his expert, that is auditor's expert है ना. There is a separate essay with respect to this, so that we do not have to go in detail. Evaluate the assumptions and methods that have been followed by the expert and evaluate the nature of internal external data used by expert. You all have done in chapter number 3 with respect to the reliability of the data है ना. So is it more with respect to internal data or external? Quickly send in your replies. Quickly send in your replies. इंटरनल एक्सटर्नल किस में ज्यादा होता है? So reliability is more with respect to the external data. However, with respect to the internal data, the reliability can be it depends upon the internal controls on the production of the internal data. Remember, ठीक है? So everyone has answered it correctly. Then is evaluate the appropriateness of expert work. So whether that work of the expert is appropriate for the auditor's purpose. So relevant है या नहीं है ना. Relevance का क्या मतलब था? Chapter number 3 में पढ़ा था ना, that logical connection होना चाहिए है ना. Auditor को जिस purpose के लिए work चाहिए, whether it is logically connected or not. Reasonableness of expert finding, completeness है या नहीं, accuracy of source data है ना. And last but not least, auditor will obtain what? Written representation that all provisions have been recognized. Now tell me, this is your test. Tell me the relevant essay number. Quickly send in your replies. Rajiv, Dikshita, Yashika, Kiran, Manisha, Chinmoy, Bhumika, Sankaran, Shubham, Dikshita, Guduri. Please reply. Darshan, Diksha, Himanshu, Sayyed. Please send in your replies. The relevant essay number. So students, I always tell you that don't write an incorrect essay number. अगर नहीं आता तो मत लिखो. Same rule will apply with respect to your exams also. If you are not sure, don't write the wrong essay number in your papers. है ना? So many of you often ask me that, ma'am, should we learn the essay number or the section numbers? देखो, it is good if you will learn, है ना? But writing an incorrect number or name is absolutely not recommended. I can see only 3 students are there who have answered it correctly. So it is essay 580. अब 508 तो हमने पढ़ा ही नहीं है ही नहीं कोई ऐसे. So students, देखो, in like I am asking you certain questions relating to chapter number 3, 2, 1 है ना. So this will show you as to ऐसे तो नहीं हो रहा है आपके साथ that you are proceeding on further with the chapters and you are forgetting the earlier chapters. So this should not happen. ठीक है? So always try to write the correct essay number or the name है ना. Avoid writing incorrect essay numbers. ठीक है? Is it clear? So it is what written representation essay 580. ठीक है? So let us now go through the module and we will finish off this topic. after doing what? The disclosure part also. So this is with respect to what? Existence, then this is completeness and valuation. So first of all, so for all those last session, maybe many of you were saying, ma'am, please once again guide as to how to make summary by underlining the keywords. So this is the way how you need to pick up the keywords. Obtain a list of all provisions and compare them with the balances in the ledgers. Okay? Underlying agreements like agreements with customers to assess warranty commitments, any legal and other claims on entity, that is litigation. Underline working and basis and verify whether the same is complete and accurate. Okay? Wherever required, obtain experts report, calculation and underlying working for the provision. Okay? You may learn any of the example, and in fact example तो अब इतना discussion हो गया कि actuary valuation है, legal expert का कोई opinion है, so आप बस ये keywords underline कर सकते हो ना. The auditor should verify the underlying assumptions and the data shared by the management as per SA 500 audit evidence, so using the management expert. So this we have already discussed in the last session, that auditor should obtain audit evidence with respect to the competence, capability, objectivity of that expert, understanding of the work of that expert, evaluating the appropriateness of the work of the audit evidence for the relevant assertion, है ना, कि particularly for that assertion whether that expert work is relevant or not. ठीक है. The auditor shall obtain, so you can always write here written representation SA 580 with respect to all the provisions. Okay, is it clear? Now the last part of this topic is what? The disclosure requirements. Okay, ensure whether the following disclosures as required under Schedule 3 Part 1 to the Companies Act have been made. So you will see that there is a bifurcation of long-term provisions and short-term provisions. So provisions can be relating to employee benefit expenses and others, है ना? So provision with respect to gratuity payable, है ना? PF payable. So auditor, see the company will give the disclosure like with respect to long-term provision for employee benefits and others, specify the nature. Same way short-term provisions में provision for employee benefits and others, specify the nature. With respect to contingent liabilities and commitment to the extent not provided for, मतलब जो आपने ऊपर provide for नहीं किया उसी के लिए तो you are going to show them as a contingent liability. So contingent liability shall be classified as claims against the company not acknowledged as debt. For example, let's say there is a company which is having factories and it has employed a number of workers. ठीक है? Now those workers are the union of those workers, they are demanding for hike in wages, है ना? But the company as such has not acknowledged this as a debt. So this is what a claim against the company which is not acknowledged as debt. समझ आया? So claim of additional wages by the, let's say, the workers, है ना? But the company has not acknowledged it as debt. ठीक है? Contingent liability, guarantees, other money for which the company is contingently liable. ठीक है? Now with respect to commitments, so if there is what? Estimated amount of contracts remaining to be executed on capital account and not provided for. If any of the contract is remaining to be executed, so if there is any estimated amount of that, then that will come. If it is not provided for, so it might be possible that the two conditions are not fulfilled, है ना? Either of the two conditions, as we have done in the definition. Uncalled liability on shares or other investments partly paid, क्योंकि कभी तो pay करना ही है ना. So again, contingent liability commitments and other commitments, specify the nature. So this is the disclosure requirement required by Schedule 3 to the Companies Act Part 1, right? Now the relevant accounting standard with respect to provision and contingent liability is what? AS 29. Provision, contingent liabilities and contingent asset. So it basically says that with respect to each provision and contingent liability that the company has shown in the notes to account, certain kind of information the company is required to give. ठीक है. So for each class of provision, the company is going to give the opening and the closing balance sheet, the carrying amount at the beginning and at the end. So for each class of provision, right? The additional provision that has been made during the year, including the increases to existing provisions, the amount used, incurred or charged against the provision during the period, and any reversals, unused amount reversed during the period. So basically the way we have done for PP intangible assets की आपको opening और closing का reconciliation देना है same way कि opening closing क्या है, the carrying amount at the beginning and at the end of the period, additions that have been made including the increases in existing provision, amounts used and unused amount. Clear? Further, with respect to each class of provision, the company is going to give a brief description with respect to the nature of obligation. क्या nature है, जैसे legal obligation है ना, expected timing, कब पैसा देना पड़ सकता है, of any resulting outflow, तो expected timing and the nature. What are the uncertainty, why it has not been booked as a liability क्यों book नहीं किया, because this expense it can be measured only with a substantial degree of certainty है ना. So what are uncertainties? Substantial degree of estimation, ठीक है, uncertainties, ठीक है. What are the uncertainties with respect to the amount? Just a minute. The timings, ठीक है. And so amount और timing के लिए क्या uncertainty है, ठीक है. Further, with the company is going to disclose the information with respect to the relevant assumptions that have been used about the future events and any kind of expected reimbursement. So what is meant by expected reimbursements? We will discuss. First of all, let us have a look at this again. So अभी हमने क्या पढ़ा कि डिस्क्लोजर कैसे आएगा, लॉन्ग टर्म एंड शॉर्ट टर्म. लॉन्ग टर्म शॉर्ट टर्म में दोनों कैसे है, प्रोविजन फॉर एम्प्लॉयमेंट बेनिफिट्स एंड अदर्स, ठीक है. कंटिंजेंट लायबिलिटीज एंड कमिटमेंट्स को कैसे शो करना है, कंटिंजेंट लायबिलिटीज व्हाट, क्लेम्स अगेंस्ट द कंपनी नॉट एक्नॉलेज्ड एज डेट, गारंटीज, अदर मनीज फॉर विच द कंपनी इज कंटिंजेंटली लायबल. कमिटमेंट्स में क्या है, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स रिमेनिंग टू बी एग्जीक्यूटेड ऑन कैपिटल अकाउंट and which has not been provided for, uncalled liability on shares or investments partly paid and other. AS21 requires कि आपको opening, closing, addition, use, reversal भी company is required to give, and it also requires the company to disclose what with respect to each class of provision, what is the nature of that provision, a brief description, expected timing कब है outflow का, uncertainty क्या है अमाउंट और टाइमिंग को लेकर, what are the assumption and what is the expected reimbursement, stating the amount of any asset that has been recognized for that expected reimbursement. Now it might be possible that the company has given warranties है ना to the customer, ठीक है, and let's say the company has taken a insurance against any of such amount which the company is required to pay है ना. So let's say out of the total amount of those warranties that the company might be required to pay, let's say 70% has been insured है ना. So the amount of expected reimbursement, क्योंकि उतना amount तो इंश्योरेंस कंपनी से reimburse हो जाएगा ना, so amount of expected reimbursement. Clear? Same way with respect to each class of contingent liability as at the balance sheet date, the company is required to give a brief description of same nature of contingent liability, estimate of financial effect if practicable है ना. practicable नहीं है ना, probable नहीं है, तभी तो contingent liability create कर रहे हैं, but wherever it is practicable, any estimate है ना, indication of uncertainties relating to any outflow and the possibility of any reimbursement. ठीक है, clear है. So this was all about provisions and contingent liabilities, whereby we started our discussion with the definition of provision and contingent liability. Then we saw that existence, completeness, valuation. In fact, we saw this for existence, completeness and valuation. है ना. तो हम List of all provisions underlying agreement, working basis, expert का report calculation working है ना, assumptions used by the expert. ऐसे 500 है. तो audit evidence with respect to the competence, capability, objectivity of expert, understanding of work of expert, and the appropriateness of the expert work है ना. And disclosure में we have seen long term, short term. कमिटमेंट के लिए, कंटिंजेंट लायबिलिटी के लिए. फर्दर AS 29 रिक्वायर्स की ओपनिंग, क्लोजिंग, एडिशन, यूज्ड एंड रिवर्सल देना है. Further, it also requires brief description of the nature, estimated time, uncertainty, any reimbursement, right? And is any point left? Assumptions. ठीक है? ठीक है? Is it clear? Same way with respect to contingent liability, the points which are applicable that will be given. ठीक है? So tell me, is it clear? And with this, we have finished all the items that are given in your module with respect to the balance sheet captions. We have covered all the notes, and I'm repeating it again and again and again that the notes, the additional regulatory information that we are discussing, the disclosure requirements are very, very important. Okay? So tell me, is it clear, this topic of provision and contingent liability? Quickly send in your replies. Shall we proceed with the income statement items? Students, send in your replies. Meanwhile, I am having a look at all your queries. So quickly send in your replies. So Himanshu, with respect to actuarial valuation, let's say, see, basically the services of actuaries are used. For example, if the company want to calculate as to what should be the provision with respect to gratuity payable to the employees, है ना? So actuaries are appointed who basically they work on arriving at the present value of what the company might be required to pay to the employees in future as gratuity payable. So they do certain complex calculations, certain statistics are involved. So the services of actuaries are taken for, and same way with respect to insurance companies also. So services of actuaries are taken whereby they calculate as to what will be the present value of what the company is required to pay in the future. Okay, is it clear? Is it clear, Himanshu? So, and with respect to your doubt, Himanshu, with respect to commitment, the examples are given here only, na? Estimate uncalled liability on shares, है ना? Ab, if let's say the company has made certain investment, half of the amount has been called up, तो बाकी amount will be called, ना? So contingent liability. Yeah, investments which are partly paid. Is it clear? Is it clear? Shall we proceed with the income statement captions? Now, tell me, we all have done the various assertions with respect to income statement captions. Quickly tell me, quickly, a list I want with respect to the various assertions of income statement. We have already done them in the very first session when we understood the topic assertions. ठीक है? So see, with respect to balance sheet captions, okay, let me just take module only. तो अभी तक what we were अंडरस्टैंडिंग, बैलेंस शीट कैप्शन में हमने क्या पढ़ा, एग्जिस्टेंस चेक करते हैं हम, एग्जिस्टेंस, देन कंप्लीटनेस, वेयर बाय वी चेक कट ऑफ ऑल्सो, ठीक है, वैल्यूएशन, राइट्स ऑब्लिगेशन, प्रेजेंटेशन एंड डिस्क्लोजर, राइट्स एंड ऑब्लिगेशन, प्रेजेंटेशन एंड डिस्क्लोजर, है ना, ये पढ़ा. Now with respect to the income statement, I told you that basically the foundation is the same. But obviously with respect to sales, I'll not say that this sales existed during the year. I'll say this sales occurred during the year. है ना? So what are the assumptions? Occurrence. Completeness will be there. Cutoff. Then instead of valuation, I'll use the term measurement. ये थोड़ी ना बोलेंगे sales was valued, sales was measured. And then rights and obligations तो होगा नहीं, presentation and disclosure. ठीक है? So I hope you all remember this. So absolutely correct. Sayyad is saying existence, completeness, valuation, allocation. ये chapter number 3 से आपने उठाया है. ठीक है? Then Dikshita is saying occurrence, measurement, completeness, cutoff, presentation, disclosure. Absolutely correct. ठीक है? Now with respect to the income statement captions, we will be verifying all these assertions only. है ना? So the first item of the income statement that we are going to consider is what? The sales figure. And this is going to be very easy for you. Why? Because we have done, if you remember, when we were doing trade receivables, we started with a discussion with respect to sales only. Why? Because trade receivables का amount कहाँ से आता है? Credit sales से, है ना? So we saw that internal control check करना है with respect to sales. Remember, invoice can be recorded only once, if you remember, है ना? So you will see there is a little repetition of all those and obviously certain different points. ठीक है? So now again, put yourself in a situation whereby, so these are the various assertions. Now you are conducting the audit of A Limited. So basically, let us just revise this within the next 2 minutes. That if the company has a sales of, let's say, 20 lakhs, so the management want to assert that these sales have actually occurred during the year. They relate to the entity. Remember, these are all the sales transactions that should have been recorded. They pertain to the correct period. They are accurately measured. That is the discount, the sales return, the GST, everything is correct. And they are presented and disclosed as is required. The presentation disclosure is as per the applicable FRS. ठीक है? Now tell me, if you are the auditor of A Limited and you found that in the P&L there is sales of again 20 lakhs. What all documents, what all audit procedures come to your mind? क्या क्या check करोगे? ठीक है? First of all, यहाँ पर you will check dash with respect to sales. Tell me, fill in this blank. Very important. So students, today after covering the income side items, na, like after the sales assertion, the assertions relating to sales, we will be discussing the various assertions relating to other income. Thereafter, I'll discuss the questions, the MCQs with you. Diksha, you are absolutely correct. Bhumika is also correct. Rajiv Kumar, also correct. So first of all, the auditor is going to check the internal control with respect to sales. See, tell me again a test for you. SA number whereby the auditor identifies and assesses the risk of material misstatement. Quickly tell me. Himanshu, you are correct. Tell me the SA number, and for all those Who remember the name of the essay also? That will be the cherry on the cake. You can send in that also. You all have done this essay at least in 3 chapters. A reference has come in 3 chapters. Tell me. Darshan, Himanshu, Dikshita, Manisha, Rajiv. Absolutely correct. Others also please reply. Tell me the name of this essay also. So I always ask you that if you are not sure, please don't mention incorrect essay number or name. Meanwhile, I'll have a look at your queries. Quickly send in your replies. ऐसे थोड़ी ना होता है. Send in the correct name. This though I have just given you a reference. This is not the name, the complete name, Darshan. So see, you can always write essay 315 relating to, if you as such don't remember the name, exact name, Hana. So Diksha has written, ma'am, identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement through understanding the entity and its environment, which is absolutely correct. Others haven't written it correctly, Hana. So identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement through understanding the entity and its environment. Essay number 315. Hana. So where were we? We were discussing about the sales of products and services. Okay? So see, when the auditor is obtaining an understanding with respect to the sales, first of all, see, if you remember when we were doing essay 315, and in fact, when you have had a detailed discussion in chapter number 4, you must have studied about significant risk, and thereby you must have studied that with respect to the revenue recognition of a company, it is an area of significant risk. It might be possible that the company has inflated the sales in order to inflate the profits. Because the increase in sales is going to have an increase in what? The profits of the company. So this is a significant risk area. So first of all, auditor will test the internal control over these transactions, and having obtained a comfort with respect to the internal control, having obtained an understanding with respect to the internal control over the sales transaction, accordingly auditor is going to decide the nature, timing, extent of his substantive procedures with respect to checking of the sales transactions. है ना? So इतना तो सबको क्लियर है ना, ये हमने बहुत डिटेल में चैप्टर नंबर 3 में भी पढ़ा है. ठीक है? So after with respect to understanding the sales, auditor will obtain a clear understanding about the organization and its revenue center. Revenue center and organization, it means that what all kind of products or services the company is dealing in, what is the demand for the services products provided by the organization, is any new product or service been introduced, or is there any discontinuance of product or service during the year, who all are the major customers, है ना. Sales term क्या है, credit पे होता है, cash sales पे होता है. So basically an understanding about the sales, कि sales इस company में होता कैसे है, revenue recognition कैसे होता है. So management control, internal control with respect to sales. अब बताओ quickly, tell me what can be the internal control. So first of all, I can say that the invoices, है ना, they are what? Pre-numbered, numbered है या नहीं, authorized है या नहीं, segregation of duty is there or not, the person who is authorizing the sales order, the person who is raising the sales invoice, the person who is receiving, who sees as to whether the goods are being delivered or not, who is receiving the payments, है ना, or let's say who is writing of any sales, credit sales, trade receivables as a bad debt. So there should be what? Segregation of duty. So auditor will obtain an understanding of that. Okay? Then in case there is any deficiency in the internal control, auditor will communicate that to the management, and those charged with governance in terms of SA 265. So SA 265 as such is not in detail in your syllabus, but just try to understand. The name is what? Communicating deficiencies in internal control to those charged with governance and management. And having understood the internal control, the auditor will what? He will decide his extent of the nature timing extent of his substantive procedures to be applied. And if you remember in chapter number 3, we have had a detail. The substantive procedures can be what? Test of details or substantive analytical procedures. Now again a test, but I'll not take a test. SA 520 relating to what? Substantive analytical procedure. So basically sales trend analysis, comparison with previous accounting year, category wise sales analysis, and sales expectation, comparing the client sales record with the industries or the previous years, right? And you have studied a term as reasonableness test, if you remember, So this example is about reasonableness test. That if itna is the sale price, reasonableness test, and this is the amount of units that have been sold. So much of the sales are reasonable. Auditor will compare them. The amount that is coming out of this reasonableness test and the amount that is getting reflected in the P&L. And in case of any variances, the same can be discussed with the management. Clear? ये सब क्या है? Repetition है of what we have discussed a number of times, So let us have a look. So auditor needs to obtain an understanding of the management control in respect of the sale process. Segregation of duty. Segregation of duty is what? One of the internal controls. Who checks the credit limit if applicable? Who authorizes the sales order? Who raises sales invoices? When and how the goods are delivered or services are provided? Who collects or records the amount received from debtors? Who ensures that risk and rewards are transferred? How the sales have been recognized? So there should be what? Segregation of duty. Okay. An auditor needs to test the control the entity has set up for the sales cycle to determine how strong and reliable they are. If they are strong and operating effectively, the auditor can reduce the extent of substantive checking. Any deficiencies in internal control shall be communicated as per SA 265. And I've told you SA 265 is what? SA 265. So this is communicating deficiencies in internal control to those charged with governance and management. Okay. Then, so what are the internal controls? It can be that these are pre-numbered sales invoice, proper authority for orders, execution of sale, customer purchase order authorization hai. A write-off करने के लिए there is authorization. The auditor selects the samples, random sample of transaction and examines the related customer purchase order. So basically it is saying that with respect to sample of sales transaction, auditor will perform test examination in depth. That is going to check each and every order document. See, related customer purchase order, invoices, customer statement to ensure that the control being tested is a numbered sales invoice. This will enable the customer, the auditor to determine the nature, timing, extent of his substantive procedures. And here we have seen that performance of substantive procedure is a must. अब whether test of details करना है, whether substantive analytical procedure करना है, or both करना है, it depends upon the auditor's professional judgment and the result of the internal control testing. ठीक है? And this is what example of reasonableness test. Very simple. You can read it as a homework. ठीक है? Now tell me, is it clear? अभी हमने क्या पढ़ा है internal control में? What auditor is going to understand. ठीक है? So let me just have a look at the queries. ठीक है? ठीक है? Now with respect to occurrence, so अब यहाँ पर existence नहीं आएगा, है ना? Now we are in the income statement, P&L में आ गए हम. We are not talking about what the balance sheet captions. So 20 lakhs की जो sales है that has occurred during the period. ठीक है? ठीक है? सो बहुत सिंपल है. अब देखो अकरेंस आपको चेक करना है कि इतना सेल्स हुआ था या नहीं. सो द ऑडिटर विल परफॉर्म हिज ऑडिट प्रोसीजर इन ऑर्डर टू इंश्योर दैट रेवेन्यू, द सेल्स रेवेन्यू इज नॉट ओवरस्टेटेड, है ना. लेट्स से इफ एनी ऑफ द सेल्स इनवॉइस there is no internal control and any of the sales invoice can be recorded twice or let's say thrice. अगर ऐसा है, in this case revenue will be overstated, thereby leading to overstatement of what? Inflating of what? Overstatement of profits, है ना. So just keep in mind that the auditor is going to check as to whether the revenue is overstated or not, thereby leading to an inflation in profits, है ना. So auditor will perform audit procedures in order to ensure that invoices, check whether a single sales invoice is recorded twice or cancelled invoices could also be recorded. So basically auditor needs to ensure that invoices are recorded only once and cancelled invoices are not recorded. अगर ऐसा हुआ फिर तो inflation in sales will be there, thereby relating to overstatement of the revenue. ठीक है. Test check few invoices. So take invoices on sample basis, few sales invoices. Test check them from the very beginning till the end. Test check all the entries. Auditor can always obtain confirmation from the, let's say credit sales are there. So in terms of SA 505, auditor can obtain what? External confirmation in order to ensure the genuineness, so that there are no fictitious customers. So fictitious is what? Fake तो नहीं है. ठीक है. Auditor will ensure that if there is any shipment without consent. See, just try to understand this example. See, shipment without consent of the other party. तो सामने वाली पार्टी ने अभी नहीं बोला है to the company to ship the products, ठीक है. बट कंपनी को क्या टारगेट है कि कंपनी wants to inflate the revenue, ठीक है. So the sales personnel, what he might do, he will ship the goods, thereby he'll book the sales, है ना, as on 31st March, let's say 2022. And let's say on 5th April, he'll show all these goods as what? Sales return. If the buyer, the goods were shipped without his consent. So if the buyer sends back the good, in the next month, the sales personnel, he books the these goods as what? Sales return. Now tell me the target to achieve the some level of sales as on 31st March 2022 तो achieve हो गया ना. उसके बाद नेक्स्ट ईयर में उसको नेक्स्ट मंथ में उसको क्या दिखा दिया? सेल्स रिटर्न. सो दिस शुड नॉट हैपन. सो दैट इज व्हाई देयर इज अ पॉइंट. सो लेट अस हैव अ लुक एट दिस पॉइंट फ्रॉम द मॉड्यूल. सी whether any shipment were done without the consent and agreement of the customer, especially at the year end to inflate the sales figure. Because अब उसको अगर customer ने बोला कि मैंने तो नहीं बोला था आपको ship करने के लिए, तो I'm sending these goods back. The sales personnel is going to book these as what? Sales return in the next month. Though his target to inflate the revenue as on 31st March to inflate the profits is achieved. ठीक है. So auditor needs to consider that. ठीक है. Then unearned revenue तो नहीं है. So auditor will consider that there should not be unearned revenue. For example, where the sales are made on approval basis. So unless and until the approval is received, that is what? Unearned revenue. ठीक है. Substantial uncertainty about the collectability. Substantial uncertainty, major uncertainty है about the collectability. For example, Mr. D is the trade receivable debtor, and he has declared himself as bankrupt. So now there is what? Substantial uncertainty about the collectability of this debt now. So auditor is going to consider that. Customer obligation contingent on other actions. ठीक है. For example, in case of resale, like if our company A Limited has sold certain goods to C Limited, and C Limited will further sell these goods, only then the sold amount will be considered as sales of A Limited. Rest will be sent back. है ना? So, or let's say some EMI options the company has given, some financing option the company has given. So customer obligation is contingent on other actions. अगर वो EMIs आएंगी तभी तो वो sale materialize होगी ना. Same way, like these are the 3 points that I want you to explain. Shipment without consent, unearned revenue, whereby I gave you example of what? Sales on approval basis. ठीक है. And substantial uncertainty में I gave you example of what? Bankrupt, that when the debtors had declared themselves are bankrupt. So there is what? Substantial uncertainty about collectability. Customer obligation, let us just have a look at this point again from the module. Whether customer obligations are contingent on other actions, for example financing, है ना, आपने financing EMI basis पे दिया या resale के केस में, ठीक है. Auditor needs to review the sequence of sales invoice. इससे भी तो genuineness पता चलेगा ना, ठीक है. Then unusual transaction है तो entries. Let's say huge discounts have been given to certain parties. So auditor will see those entries, ठीक है. Ratio of sales return to sales. How much sales return are there as compared to sales, and compare them with the previous year. In case of any major increase or decrease, the reasons will be discussed with the management. And with respect to sales return, auditor is going to check the relevant invoices to which they relate, the challans, when the goods are received back, certain documents must have been filled, the credit notes. We have discussed this now when we were discussing credit memos in trade receivables and the stock register. The stock register must also have been updated when the goods are received back. So auditor will consider that. देखो, many of you will say कि मैम there are a number of points, but आप ये देखो कि कितना लॉजिकल है ना. सो डोंट क्रैम, जस्ट ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड. देखो, सेल्स शुड नॉट बी ओवरस्टेटेड, है ना. तो आपको कंपनी को क्या करने से रोकना है कि सेल्स ओवरस्टेट ना हो, जिससे कि आपका प्रॉफिट्स एज ऑन 31 मार्च द कट ऑफ पीरियड शुड नॉट बी इन्फ्लेटेड. सो इनवॉइस इज रिकॉर्डेड ओनली वंस. अगर कोई कैंसल्ड इनवॉइस है वो रिकॉर्ड नहीं होना चाहिए. फ्यू इनवॉइसेस की एंट्रीज को सैम्पल बेसिस पे चेक कर लेते हैं, कंफर्मेशन मंगवा लेते हैं फॉर जेन्युइननेस, सो दैट फिक्टिशियस कस्टमर्स ना हो, ऐसा चेक हो जाए. शिपमेंट विदाउट कंसेंट है तो ऑडिटर नीड्स टू कंसीडर दैट. अनअर्न्ड रेवेन्यू तो नहीं है. सब्सटैंशियल अनसर्टेनिटी अबाउट कलेक्टिबिलिटी तो नहीं है. ऑडिटर नीड्स टू कंसीडर कस्टमर ऑब्लिगेशन कंटिंजेंट ऑन अदर एक्शंस, है ना. सीक्वेंस ऑफ सेल्स इनवॉइस है या नहीं. अनयूजुअल ट्रांजैक्शन है तो उनकी एंट्रीज देखो. रेशियो ऑफ सेल्स रिटर्न टू सेल्स देखो एंड कंपेयर देम विद द प्रीवियस ईयर. व्हाट आर द रीजंस फॉर द वेरिएंसेस? ऑडिटर इज गोइंग टू डिस्कस दैट विद द मैनेजमेंट. With respect to sales return, what all audit procedure auditor can perform? He can check the relevant invoices, the challans, the credit notes and the stock registers. ठीक है, simple है. Now with respect to completeness assertion, है ना, sales, whether all sales, देखो, let me just take you through this point. When we were doing the various assertion, completeness का क्या मतलब है? देखो, whether all transactions that were supposed to be recorded have been recognized in financial statement, transactions have not been omitted. So example में हमने पढ़ा था all genuine sales have been recorded. So now auditor will perform procedures, and as I've told you that completeness का ही part क्या है? Cut off. So let us have a look at cut off also. Whether all income and expenses are reported in the correct accounting period. ठीक है. Now let us look at the discussion. So see, when the auditor is checking the completeness and the cutoff assertion, है ना, so in this case auditor wants to check as to whether the sales pertain to sales of 20 lakhs, as we have taken the example, they pertain to the correct accounting period, current accounting period only. Sales are not tempered at the year end, कि कोई चेंजेस तो नहीं कर दिए हैं. सेल्स नेक्स्ट ईयर की सेल्स थी, लेट्स से अप्रैल 22 की सेल्स थी, तो उसको टेम्परिंग मतलब छेड़छाड़, मैनिपुलेशन, इंटरफेरेंस करके लेट्स से इनवॉइसेस को कुछ चेंजेस कर दिए हैं, उसको मार्च 22 में तो कन्वर्ट नहीं कर दिया. ठीक है. रेवेन्यू रिकॉग्नाइज शुड बी व्हेन द रिस्क एंड रिवॉर्ड हैज बीन ट्रांसफर्ड, है ना. AS9 पढ़ा है ना आपने. वेरीफाई द क्रेडिट नोट्स इशूड आफ्टर द अकाउंटिंग पीरियड, है ना. क्रेडिट नोट्स क्या था? हमने पढ़ा था दैट इफ एनी सेल्स इनवॉइस हैज बीन इशूड कि द कंपनी द डेटर हैज टू पे 10,000 आफ्टर इन द नेक्स्ट मंथ, लेट्स से अप्रैल मंथ में, नेक्स्ट अकाउंटिंग पीरियड में, अ क्रेडिट नोट इशूड टू द सेम पार्टी, let's say for 5,000, that is or let's say for 3,000. सो दिस क्रेडिट नोट इम्प्लाइज दैट नाउ कस्टमर, सुनो आपको 7,000 पे करना है, 3,000 नहीं पे करना है ना. So in order to verify whether any of the fictitious sales are there at the year end to inflate the profits, या कोई credit note अगर issue किया है in the next accounting period, auditor needs to consider that. ठीक है. Shipment documents है ना, shipping documents. If you remember, we have done this when we discussed about trade receivable, कि जो shipping documents हैं उससे आप date देख सकते हो ना of when the goods, the risk and reward have been transferred. So you can tally that with the sales journal. ठीक है. With respect to the quantity, sales कितना quantity हुआ, sales register से check कर सकते हैं. Total goods dispatched as per stock records, stock registers भी तो होंगे, वहां से check कर सकते हो. कुछ फाइनेंशियल रिकॉर्ड्स जहां आपका क्लोजिंग स्टॉक वगैरह का फिगर्स आ रहा है वो चेक कर सकते हो. स्टैट्यूटरी रिकॉर्ड्स लाइक योर जीएसटी रिटर्न्स, वहां पर भी तो क्वांटिटी आ रहा होगा ना, सो ऑडिटर कैन चेक दैट. And GST returns can be compared with the revenue reported in the P&L. And again, auditor can perform what? Reasonability. Sales है ना? And let's say auditor is aware about the GST rate. He can always check, or vice versa. For example, the auditor has the GST liability. He can divide it by the GST. He can arrive at what? The sales figure and then compare it with what? The amount that is appearing in the income P&L, and whatever are the reasons for the variance, the same can be discussed with the management. देखो बहुत logical है. Let us have a look at these 2 points from the module, then we'll proceed further. So just a minute. So we're discussing what? Sales का existence and completeness. Sorry, occurrence and completeness. See, check whether single invoice is recorded. Check whether a single invoice is recorded twice, or cancel check could also be recorded. Test check few invoices with the relevant entries in sales invoices. General. Obtain confirmation from few customers, genuineness देखने के लिए. Whether any fictitious customer or sales have been recorded, consider that. So whether any shipment were done without consent and agreement of the customer, especially at the year end to inflate the sales figure. Whether unearned revenue is recorded as earned. Whether any substantial uncertainty exists about collectibility. Whether customer obligation are contingent. Contingent is what? Dependent on other actions, financing या resale में. Review sequence of sales invoices, whether these are pre-numbered or not. Review general entries for unusual transactions. I gave you example of what? Your huge discounts are given. ठीक है. Ratio of sales return to sales and compare it with the previous year and inquire for reasons for increase or decrease. Sales return को sales invoice, चालान, credit note या stock register से auditor will check. ठीक है. Now with respect to the completeness assertion. Perform cut-off procedure to ensure that revenues are recognized in the correct accounting period and sales are not tempered. Tempered वैसे क्या मतलब होता है? Interference, छेड़छाड़ नहीं हुई है invoices के साथ towards the period end. Cut-off errors so usually arise when companies recognize revenue based on the date on which sales invoices are generated rather than on the date when risk and rewards are transferred. ठीक है. Auditor should also verify that the credit notes issued after the accounting period. Sometimes sales teams or sales personnel make fictitious sales before the year end to meet performance target and cancel out those sales with the post year credit note. See, this point now it beautifully explains pura concept. Like this concept is used in sales again and again. So we will read this line again. Sometimes sales team or sales personnel can make fictitious sales before the year end to meet performance target and cancel out those sales with the post year credit year end credit note. Trace the shipping documents to the sales journal. क्वांटिटी कहाँ से चेक कर सकते हो? सेल्स रजिस्टर्स को देखो, रिकंसिलिएशन ऑफ टोटल गुड्स डिस्पैच एज पर स्टॉक रिकॉर्ड्स देखो, फाइनेंशियल रिकॉर्ड्स देखो या स्टैट्यूटरी रिकॉर्ड्स लाइक योर जीएसटी रिटर्न्स. Review GST tags, GST returns to ensure that the same are reconciled with the revenue reported in P&L. reasonability. And in fact, students, you will see that wherever we will be doing about various expenses, the income statement captions, expenses and income, you will come across this word a number of times, reasonability test, कि कितना reasonable है ना? Like if you remember PF में भी हमने पढ़ा था when we were doing current liabilities, है ना? कितना amount PF है, इतना employee benefit expense है, तो कितना should be reasonable. Same way with respect to GST. By applying the applicable rate to the gross sales and compare the amount as per the statutory return and analyze for the differences. So this was with respect to your completeness. ठीक है? Now with respect to measurement. अब यहाँ पर आप valuation नहीं बोलोगे ना? क्या बोलोगे? Complete measurement. Simple है देखो. With this check few transaction from the very beginning till the end. Examination in depth का क्या मतलब है? जो पहला डॉक्यूमेंट है ना, वहां से लेके एंड तक सारे डॉक्यूमेंट को चेक करो. ठीक है? एवरी अंडरलाइन डॉक्यूमेंट को चेक करो, वेदर रिकॉर्डेड एट एवरी स्टेज, वेदर मेजर्ड एक्यूरेटली, इंसेंटिव्स डिस्काउंट को चेक करो, वेदर इट इज एज पर द रेवेन्यू रिकॉग्निशन पॉलिसी. ठीक है? Measurement में tell me we were doing one common point, two common points all the time. Do not look at the module, do not look at the screen. Tell me what were those 2 points. So sales है तो revenue recognition तो आएगा ही. Quickly tell me the relevant AS accounting standard number with respect to revenue recognition sales से related. And then also tell me the 2 accounting standards that we have been discussing so far with respect to valuation assertion, है ना, जब हम balance sheet caption की बात करते थे. Quickly send in your replies. And students, this in the last session also I've asked you to be what smart learners, है ना, जो चीज हर जगह repeat हो रही है, learn that at least. हाँ, तो गुडूरी ने Miss Guduri has given one correct accounting standard. So I've asked you. I've asked you the numbers of 3 accounting standards, one relating to revenue recognition and the 2 that are always been coming in valuation and measurement. Quickly send in your replies. So AS9 with respect to revenue recognition, ठीक है. AS11 with respect to export sales, that is effects of changes in foreign exchange rate. हमने valuation में भी पढ़ा. And related party, remember AS18. So the entire measurement of sales revolve around these 3 S's. ठीक है. So this is basically talking about what AS9 only, that रेवेन्यू रिकॉग्निशन पॉलिसी के अकॉर्डिंग सब हुआ है नहीं, सेल्स रेवेन्यू रिकॉग्निशन के अकॉर्डिंग हुआ है नहीं. AS11 with respect to the restatement of export sales in the INR, and AS18 with respect to related party sales, that is whether collectability, authorization, reasonableness and at the arm's length price. So let us have a look at this from the module. So trace a few transactions from inception, from the very beginning to completion, that is examination in depth. अब देखो कैसे. Take few sales transaction and check from the receipt of sales order to payment of receivable balance. सबसे पहले आपका sales order आया होगा, and last step क्या होगा? Payment of that receivable balance. Every underlying document. अब underlying तो समझ आ गया ना, कि कोई भी डॉक्यूमेंट जिसके बेसिस पे कोई एंट्री हुई है, जो फाउंडेशन है पूरे सेल्स ट्रांजैक्शन का, ईच एंड एवरी डॉक्यूमेंट, टू इंश्योर इफ इट इज प्रॉपर्ली रिकॉर्डेड एट एवरी स्टेज, measured accurately, taking into consideration all the incentive discounts if any. The recognition shall be according to the revenue recognition policy of the entity. AS11 in case of export sales. Again, revenue recognition AS9. Compare the rates of sales affected with related parties. So this is what AS18. Collectability को review करो, whether properly authorized है नहीं, and whether reasonable है या नहीं, and at arm length. ठीक है, simple है. Now with respect to this, so this is basically part 2. Because this is P&L item na. So this required disclosure for sales have been appropriately made. Ensure that the following disclosures as required in the schedule 3 part 2 to the Companies Act have been made. So a very simple disclosure. So let us have a quick read. Whether disclosure of sales in respect of each class of goods have been made, whether revenue from operation is disclosed in the notes as revenue from sale of products, sale of services, other operating revenues, whether brokerage and discount on sales other than usual trade discount have been disclosed. देखो trade discount is always deducted from the list price ना, है ना? So other discounts like your cash discounts or brokerage that will be shown separately, and the transactions with related party are appropriately disclosed in the notes to accounts. Okay. So with this we have finished what's the various verification of various assertions with respect to the sales item of the income statement. Underlining नहीं होता है याशिका, it is underlying document. जो भी डॉक्यूमेंट के बेसिस पर आपने कोई एंट्री की है या कोई भी आपने अमाउंट प्रोसेस किया है, अंडरलाइन द डॉक्यूमेंट विच इज द फाउंडेशन फॉर दैट एंट्री, है ना? दिस वी हैव अंडरस्टूड दिस टर्म इन चैप्टर नंबर 3 ऑल्सो. ठीक है, सो आई होप इट इज क्लियर. Quickly tell me whether this is clear or not, because students I want to complete this other income wala topic also, and then as many of you were saying ma'am please discuss MCQs case scenario also, and that is going to be a test of all of you. So I want to do that, but before that please tell me whether you have understood this topic or not. Quickly, Sayed is saying, ma'am, clear. Others also please reply. Bhumika, Manisha, Rajiv, Diksha, Yashika, Dikshita, Sivaranjani, Guduri, Dikshita, Rajiv Kumar, Himanshu, Nehal, Darshan. Anna, please reply. Chinmoy, Sankaran, Sayed. Clear है? And also tell me, are you now finding this chapter easy? Because starting में तो many of you were saying कि ma'am it is a very lengthy topic, कैसे याद होएगा? Are you finding it easy now? Quickly, I'll wait for 30 seconds. चलो, that's good. ठीक है. So here we will do one thing. We will take a break of 10 minutes. After the break, we'll be starting with this topic 4.2, paragraph number 4.2 relating to other income. So a very quick break of 10 minutes, and in the break try to download the questions. है ना? Yesterday itself I have uploaded them. So a break of 10 minutes here. So students, I hope you all are back after the break, and I can see that before the break I've asked you that whether now you are finding this chapter easy or not. So Nehal is saying yes ma'am, you made it very easy. Himanshu is saying ma'am, repetition seems easy. Diksha is saying yes ma'am, it had rarely become easy. Dikshita is saying yes ma'am, now I'm feeling it, finding it easy. Rajiv is saying easy and interesting now. Manisha is saying yes ma'am, many items have common audit procedure which makes it easy to memorize, so that's good. So I'm happy that you all are able to find this important chapter and the lengthiest chapter in this book, Hana, easy and interesting now. So now our next topic, which is other income, interest income, dividend income, gain, loss. Yeah. So now I'll not tell you, but you will tell me the audit procedures. Tell me other income, Hana, examples we have seen, interest. So in fact, let us just try to understand all this thing, interest income. So let's say interest income on fixed deposits, है ना, कंपनी के हैं कुछ fixed deposits, बताओ क्या क्या चेक करोगे. You will obtain what first of all? Quickly send in your replies, है ना. And students, see with respect to the income statement captions now, income side में we'll be doing sales, So students, there was some technical glitch, some power failure. So I hope now you see the video, the audio is also fine, and you are able to see the PDF also. Quickly send in your replies, then we will proceed further. So Bhumika has said that with respect to dividend, we will see whether the right to receive dividend is established or not, which is absolutely correct. Okay. Students, please reply. Is it fine now? Syed, please reply. ठीक है ठीक है So other income में interest income के लिए you have replied and dividend के लिए Bhumika has replied. Others also please reply. And also with respect to profit or loss on sale of investment, let's say some mutual funds are there, है ना? So auditor will check the calculation. Auditor can always obtain the mutual fund statement in order to see the calculations and the resultant gain or loss. ठीक है ठीक है ठीक है So let us have a look. See, interest income on fixed deposits. So when I'll check the calculation, what all elements will come? The interest rate, the amount, and the time. Proportion. It will be interest will be received proportionately now. है ना? So recognized on time proportion basis, amount outstanding, applicable interest rate. Dividend is recognized only when the entity's right to receive dividend is established, probable economic benefits are there, and the amount can be measured reliably. So if all these three conditions are satisfied, then only dividend will be recognized in the books of the client. Hana? And when will you say that entity's right to dividend is received? When the other company has proposed or declared the dividend and the name of this company, the client, Hana, is mentioned in the register of the members. Okay? So, and it should be probable that there will be economic benefits and amount can be measured reliably. Only then the dividend will be recognized in the books of the client, and that the auditor is going to check. With respect to gain on sale and investment, it will be recorded on transfer of title from the entity. तभी तो sale किया ना. And redemption price, that is the sales price less the carrying amount. That is the amount that is coming in the financials in the balance sheet. That will be what the resultant gain. Okay. So this is a brief about what we are going to understand with respect to interest on FDs, the dividends, and the gain on sale of investment. Okay. Now, with respect to the various assertions of occurrence, completeness, and measurement, so interest on FDs, and students, you will be happy to know that whatever answers you have sent, it is exactly the same. See, obtain a list of the FDs opened during the year, the applicable interest rate, number of days for which outstanding during the period, arithmetical accuracy check करना है. FDs outstanding at the year end, auditor can obtain what? Direct confirmation of interest amount also, and calculation of the entity auditor can check. And with respect to the TDS deducted, auditor may check it from form 26AS. The auditor can perform all these procedures with respect to interest on FDs. Simple है. एक लॉजिकल सा देखो, नो क्रैमिंग इज रिक्वायर्ड. लॉजिकली सोचो ना, एक लिस्ट लेंगे, क्या अमाउंट है, क्या एप्लीकेबल रेट है, कितने टाइम पीरियड के लिए था, उसका अरिथमेटिकल एक्यूरेसी चेक कर लो. आउटस्टैंडिंग एट द ईयर एंड एक्सटर्नल कंफर्मेशन ले लो. इंटरेस्ट इनकम का भी कंफर्मेशन ले सकते हो. कैलकुलेशन ऑफ एंटिटी को चेक कर लो. टीडीएस चेक कर लो. सिंपल. With respect to dividends, auditor is going to check whether the right to receive dividend is established or not. Okay. With respect to gain, auditor will see that such gain is booked only on transfer of title from the entity. Okay. And the resultant gain will be what? Redemption price less the carrying amount. And this can be checked from the mutual fund statement if it is about what? Mutual fund. Simple hai na? Hai na? Let us have a look at this from the module. Other income comprising interest income, dividend, gain or loss on sale of investment. So any form of income which is not linked to the entity's core business operation is what? Your other income. है ना? अभी we are not talking about sales का revenue. We are talking about what? Other income which is not linked to the core entity's core business operations. ठीक है? Interest on excess funds for park in FDs with banks. Interest on loans to third party within the group or return on mutual fund investment. So interest income. So this we have seen कि interest income का क्या आपको basically देखना है, the formula, that is the amount, time proportionate basis and the applicable rate. Dividend is recognized only when the entity's right to receive dividend of the payment of the dividend is established. It is probable that economic benefits associated with the dividend will flow to the entity and the amount of dividend can be measured reliably. Gain or loss on sale of investment in mutual funds is recorded as other income on transfer of title from entity and is determined as difference between redemption and carrying value of investment. So Darshan, your query is not clear. Please repeat it. Okay. So in order to verify the income of fixed deposits, so it can be, see, income on fixed deposits has been taken. So if there is any income on investment, then also you can mention these points with certain changes, like a list of all investments आएगा, है ना, on fixed deposits opened during the year under the audit, applicable interest rates, number of days for which deposit was outstanding during the period. So number of days for which investments was made during the year. Arithmetical accuracy of interest calculation check करोगे, multiplying the deposit amount, applicable rate, number of days. Fixed deposits still outstanding as at the period end, trace the same from the direct confirmation from respective bank's financial institution. Obtain a confirmation of interest income from bank, verify the interest income as per the bank reconciles to the calculation shared by the entity, and check the T deducted by bank or financial institution and reconcile the interest reflected therein to the calculation shared by the client. Simple hai. For dividend, verify that the same are recognized in the statement only when the right to receive the payment of dividend is established. Okay? And with respect to gain or loss on sale of investment in mutual funds, see that it is recorded as other income only on transfer and is determined as the difference between redemption value and carry value. For this purpose, auditor can obtain what? The mutual fund statement. Okay? The disclosure requirement, again, since it pertains to the P&L item, mention it as part 2. Ensure whether the following disclosure as required under Schedule 3, Part 2 to the Companies Act have been made. So whether other income has been classified as interest income, dividend income, net gain or loss on sale of investment, other non-operating, net of expenses directly attributable to such income. Simple hai? Koi doubt hai? Quickly send in your reply. So Darshan, what is your query? Please clarify it. And if you want to ask कि मैम other income में सिर्फ gain or loss on mutual fund है, so I am telling you that this is not an exhaustive list. The topic audit of items of financial statement is a vast term, है ना? So it will cover a number of topics. Maximum of the topics are covered in a module, but it might be possible that you may get any topic with any question with respect to any item of financial statement which is not there in the module, which we haven't covered. But since by so far, see, we are on page number 9.87 and you guys have been visualizing yourself in a situation and you are trying to think on your own as to what documents you are going to verify, है ना? And having understood the concept of assertions with respect to income statement captions and balance sheet captions, now I'm sure that you all are also confident about your ability to think in the right direction and write the correct answer. Okay? So you can always get any item of the financial statement which is not in the module. I'm not saying that you will definitely get an item which is not in the module, but by so far, it should be very easy for you to write answer for any item of financial statement. Okay, Darshan? See, when we receive the interest income from bank, TDS is deducted, na? TDS is deducted by the bank, na? So in the Form 26AS, the AIS Annual Information System, है ना, where this TDS details are given, the auditor can always confirm the amount of TDS and the interest income also. ठीक है भूमिका? ठीक है, is it clear? Now, one of the additional regulatory information that we have been doing so far. So this is what relating to what undisclosed income. So quickly send in your replies whether whatever we have done so far, is it clear? After doing this undisclosed income, we will be starting with the questions. We will be starting with the assignments that have been given to you. And please tell me whether you are able to download them. Quickly send in your replies. Whether you are able to download those questions, case scenarios and all. So this is what one of the additional information, and this pertains to what? Part 2. That is P&L item से related है ना. तो balance sheet item का additional information, whatever additional regulatory information, whatever is in your syllabus that we have covered. Now this is relating to what? The undisclosed income relating to what? Your P&L. ठीक है? So undisclosed income. So here the company is now required to disclose by itself the undisclosed income. Now what is meant by that? The company shall give details of any transaction not recorded in the books of accounts that has been surrendered or disclosed as income during the year in the tax assessments under the Income Tax Act 1961, such as search or survey or any other relevant provisions of the Income Tax Act 1961. Unless there is immunity for disclosure under any scheme, and also state that whether the previously unrecorded income and related assets have been properly recorded in the books of account during the year. अब ये क्या था? Quickly send in your replies. Are you able to understand it? So students, if you are not able to download the questions, now I'll check them. Hana? Why? What is the problem? Because yesterday only I have uploaded all the questions. ठीक है? And no worries, I'll be sharing the PDF with you. So, so see, if the company has concealed any of the income, has not disclosed any of the income in its books of account, and the same was surrendered or disclosed under any search or survey under the Income Tax Act 1961. So now here by way of notes, the company will have to mention that, see, we have disclosed, we are now disclosing this undisclosed income. Hana? So the company has earlier concealed this income in the books of accounts, not recorded in the income in the books of accounts. But under any search or survey under the Income Tax Act, such income was either surrendered or disclosed as income. ठीक है? So the company is required to now mention in the notes to accounts कि देखो ये income था जो हमने तब conceal किया था. Now we are disclosing them. ठीक है? So see, this is going to have an impact on the goodwill of the company ना. Shareholders will definitely ask the management as to why such income was concealed earlier or why such income was not disclosed earlier. ठीक है? ठीक है? So let us read this point again. The company shall give details of any transaction not recorded in the books of accounts. जो company ने record नहीं की, that has been surrendered or disclosed as or survey हुआ under the Income Tax Act during the year. So at that point, such income was surrendered or disclosed. ठीक है? Unless there is immunity for disclosure under any scheme, and also state that whether the previously unrecorded income or the related assets have been properly recorded in the books of accounts during the year, कि अब आपने उसको ठीक से डिस्क्लोज कर दिया है नहीं एंड रिकॉर्ड कर लिया है नहीं इन द बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स. इसका क्या मतलब है? अनलेस देर इज इम्यूनिटी फॉर द डिस्क्लोजर अंडर एनी स्कीम, सी इट माइट बी पॉसिबल दैट द कंपनी हैज अंडर द वॉलेंट्री डिस्क्लोजर स्कीम, है ना. द इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट समटाइम इज गिव व्हाट, वॉलेंट्री डिस्क्लोजर स्कीम, कि आप खुद से डिस्क्लोज कर दो कि अगर आपकी कोई अनडिस्क्लोज इनकम थी. अगर वहां पर कंपनी हैज डिस्क्लोज द इनकम, देन देर इज नो रिक्वायरमेंट फॉर सच डिस्क्लोजर. ठीक है. Immunity, that is unless there is some exception for this disclosure under the scheme, that is I gave you example of voluntary disclosure scheme. ठीक है. So now let us read this point again and then we'll be done with this sales का topic. Sales and other income. The company shall give details of any transaction not recorded in the books of accounts that has been surrendered or disclosed as income during the year in tax assessment under Income Tax Act 1961, such as search or survey, unless there is immunity for disclosure under any scheme, that is voluntary disclosure scheme में अगर कंपनी ने खुद से ही disclose कर दिया तो then there is no requirement. And also state that whether the previously unrecorded income जो पहले unrecorded थी and related assets have been properly recorded in the books of accounts during the year, कि during the year अब आपने record कर लिया है नहीं. तो देखो मैनेजमेंट के ऊपर कितना बर्डन है ना, कि अब मैनेजमेंट को खुद से बताना पड़ेगा कि ये गलत काम किया था हमने, अब उसको ठीक कर लिया. दिस इनकम वाज नॉट डिस्क्लोज्ड, हमने सरेंडर किया जब ड्यूरिंग द ईयर कोई सर्च या सर्वे हुआ, और नाउ द सेम हैज बीन रिकॉर्डेड इन द बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स. ठीक है. इज इट क्लियर? Is it clear? So basically now the company is disclosing information with respect to undisclosed, concealed or hidden income. ठीक है. So tell me, and whose responsibility is to make this disclosure? The company's responsibility. Again required by amended schedule 3 part 2. ठीक है. So is it clear? So now I'll do one thing. This topic we will be taking up in the next session. Now let us have a discussion of the MCQs. So many of you were saying, ma'am, we want to see whether we have understood or not. So let us have a look at the MCQs. So quickly tell me whether it is clear. So Bhumika, Darshan, Diksha, Rajiv Kumar, they are showing, ma'am, it is clear. Now be ready for the MCQs. I'm sure you all are going to find these MCQs interesting. Tell me the reply, the correct answer with respect to first MCQ. Ensuring that the inventory balance of the client as at the year end does not include element of next financial year addresses valuation assertion, cutoff assertion, rights and obligation assertion, presentation and disclosure assertion. Quickly send in your replies. So I'll check what is the problem, why you are not able to download these files. Abhi ke liye just have a look at the screens. Quickly send in your replies. So that's good that everyone has answered it correctly. Shubham, Rajiv, Darshan, Manisha, Bhumika, Himanshu, Diksha, Guduru, Dikshita, Logasundar, Sivar, Ranjani. Absolutely correct. So this is what? Cutoff assertion. Ensuring that inventory balance of the client as at the year end does not include any element of next financial year. Anna, so just a minute. So see, cutoff assertion. Inventory balance as at the year end does not include any element of the next financial year, whether all assets and liabilities are reported in appropriate period. ठीक है? Totally correct. Now, second question. Quickly send in your replies. Just give me 1 minute. So students, don't give me answers in terms of 1, 2, 3, 4. You are supposed to give answers in terms of A, B, C, D. Quickly send in your replies. So I'm happy to see that Manisha, Himanshu, Darshan, Guduri, Rajiv Kumar, Diksha, Shubham. You all are right. Others also please reply. Students, try to answer these questions on your own without referring to the module. Yes, you can always refer to the module, but first attempt should be without referring to the module. This is going to boost your confidence, है ना? And you will be able to know as to how much you remember. है ना? अभी learning तो as such is not complete ना, because अभी तो we are doing this chapter, but this is going to give you confidence. Quickly send in your replies. So, the securities premium account may be applied by the company for various purposes. Which of the following is the correct option? And I always ask you to read the question carefully. अगर यहाँ पर होता ना which of the following is not correct, the answer would have changed. ठीक है? Towards the issue of unissued shares of the company to members as fully paid up, which is correct. For purchase of its own share under section 68, which is also correct. In writing of the preliminary expenses is correct. In providing premium payable on the redemption of redeemable preference shares is correct. So the answer is what? All of the above. So D. Clear? Now read the question carefully. Third question. We are discussing the third question. Quickly send in your replies with respect to the third point. So I'm waiting for your replies. So except for one student, I can see others have answered it correctly. So Dikshita, Darshan, Himanshu, Diksha, Manisha, your answers are correct. Now, whose name has not been taken, the answer is not correct. So please check your answer. Nehal, you are also correct. Guduri, you are also correct. Shubham is also correct. Please reply. So see now read the question carefully. Which of the following statement is not correct? Hana? So many of the time it happens that in the exam you take it as implied that the question will ask for which of the following statement is correct. Hana? So don't do that. Read the question carefully. Options are to be read carefully, but read the question also with like 100% concentration. So which of the following statement is not correct with respect to issue of sweat equity shares? The sweat equity shares issued by the company should be of the class of shares that are already issued, which is absolutely correct. The issue should be authorized by an ordinary resolution, which is not correct because it should be what? Special resolution. ठीक है. The rights limitation restriction provisions are applicable to equity shares shall be applicable to sweat equity shares issued under this section, and holders shall rank pari passu with other equity shares, which is also correct. This resolution specifies the number of shares, the current market price, consideration, the class of directors, employees to whom it has been issued. So, which is also correct. So the incorrect one, that is which has been asked for in the question, is what? B point. Bhumika Sivaranjani, correct. Okay. Now on the fourth question. Ensuring that the recorded sales represent goods which are ordered by valid customer and were dispatched and invoiced in the period addresses the following assertion. Is it occurrence, cutoff, measurement, presentation and disclosure? And students, when we were doing those table relating to assertion, I told you that they form a very good basis for your MCQs or true false, है ना? So tell me, what is the correct option? Quickly send in a reply. Dikshita, you are correct. Others also please reply. Shubham correct. Manisha correct. Sivaranjani correct. Others please reply. So ensuring that recorded sales represent goods which were ordered by valid customer and were dispatched and invoiced in the period addresses the following assertion. So the options are occurrence, cutoff, measurement, presentation, disclosure. Okay. So the right answer is what? Occurrence. See, see, cutoff में तो क्या? Correct accounting period is the keyword ना, कि correct accounting period में fall करता है. Measurement में क्या आएगा आपका? It is measured accurately. Presentation is and disclosure में क्या आएगा कि the presentation disclosure as per the applicable FRF, है ना? So how can the correct answer be D? यहाँ कहीं presentation disclosure की या measurement की या कहीं cut off की बात हो रही है? नहीं. Ensuring that recorded sales represent, and see students, this is what with respect to sales. So see, occurrence. Recorded sales represent goods which were ordered by valid customer and were dispatched and invoiced in the period. That is, the transaction recognized in the financial statement have occurred and relate to the entity. Okay? Is it clear? So the answers, you can also tally them. Don't look at the fifth answer. So B, D, B, A. Okay? Now the next fifth question. Just a minute. Fifth question. Statement 1, statement 2, and it says which of the statement, like some options are given with respect to correct and incorrect. So now read it carefully. Capital reserves represents a reserve which does not include any amount regarded as free for distribution. They can be utilized only for certain limited purposes. So you will have to see as to whether this statement is correct or not. Second, in case any intangible asset is not in active use, deletion should have been recorded in accounts post approval by entities management, and amortization charge should have ceased beyond the date of deletion. So options are statement 1 is correct, or B is what? Statement 2 is correct. C says both statement 1 and 2 are correct, and D says none of the statement is correct. Take time. Read this question with concentration, read this question carefully, and then give the answer. Don't give your answers in a hurry. Because बहुत simple statements हैं. The only problem will be what? If you are in a hurry, you will not read the statements properly and you will end up giving what? Incorrect answers. Okay, and try to answer these like see, read the statement and write here whether it is correct or incorrect, and same way with respect to second statement. So capital reserve represents a reserve which does not include any amount regarded as free for distribution. This is for. They can be utilized only for limited purpose, which is what? Correct. In case any intangible asset is not in active use, deletion should have been recorded in the books of accounts post approval by entities management, and amortization charge should have ceased beyond the date of deletion, which is also correct. So the correct answer is what? C. Both statement 1 and 2 are correct. Okay. So Diksha, Rajiv Singh, Himanshu, Guduri, Patan, Dikshita, Nehal, Sivranjani, Shubham, Bhumika, Manisha, Darshan. You all are absolutely correct, which is good. Now on the sixth, correct option for sixth question. Dash is an identifiable non-monetary asset without physical substance held for use in production or supply of goods or services, for rental to others, or for administrative purposes. This is a very easy question. So very easy. Intangible assets, Hannah. Seventh question. Again, read it carefully. Which is the following is not an example of revenue reserve? Quickly send in your replies. Not an example of revenue reserve. So capital retention reserve. So it is not an example. तो ये भी हो सकता है. General reserve तो आपका revenue होता है. Credit balance to P&L. All of the above are example. This is not correct. So what is the correct option? Capital redemption reserve. So Darshan, Shubham, Himanshu, correct. Now with respect to eighth question, read it again carefully. Statements हैं, तो now I have told you how to answer to such type of questions. So Guduri, Manisha, Rajiv Kumar, absolutely correct with respect to seventh question. Now try to answer to this eighth question. Bhumika correct. Now eighth question. With respect to direct confirmation procedures relating to trade receivables, which of the following statement is correct? Confirmation as well as undelivered letter should be given return to auditor and not to the client. This was statement 1. Statement 2 says, where no reply is received, the auditor should perform alternate procedures regarding the balances. So option number A is only statement 1 is correct. Only statement 2 is correct. Both 1 and 2 are correct. Both 1 and 2 are incorrect. So again, I'll request you all to not to answer to this question in a hurry, Hannah. Read the statements carefully and then the options carefully. When no reply is received, the auditor should perform alternate procedure. This is also correct. So the correct option is what? C. Is it clear? Is it clear? So I can see that Darshan, Manisha, Rajiv, Himanshu, Guduri, Shubham, Dikshita, Nehal, Shivaranjani, you are all absolutely correct. This is again a very easy question. Ninth question. Diksha, Bhumika correct. Now ninth question. Which of the following is not correct? AS18 related party, AS10 PPE, AS28 impairment of assets, AS16 intangible assets. Quickly send in your replies. So the correct answer is what? AS 16, because intangible asset is what? AS 26. 16 is relating to what? Borrowing cost. Okay. Now read the 10th question carefully, Hannah. Again, I'm repeating it. Those tables with respect to assertions very, very important for understanding this entire chapter and also from your examination point of view. All assets, liabilities, equity balance that are supposed to be recorded have been recognized in the financial statement. The assertion involved is existence, rights and obligation, valuation or completeness. See, if you are not able to think about the correct option, the next best way is to first cut the incorrect options. जो आपको sure है कि these are the incorrect options, है ना? Definitely by this process you will be able to reach the correct answer. Quickly send in your replies. Quickly, 10th question. Bhumika is absolutely correct and she has mentioned the keyword also. So Bhumika, Shubham, Himanshu, Darshan, Diksha, Sivaranjani, Rajiv Kumar, Shubham. Absolutely correct. देखो, all assets, liabilities, equity balances that are supposed to be recorded have been recognized in the financial statement. This is what your completeness assertion. Keyword Shubham is saying all. Bhumika is also saying all. Okay. 10th is a very easy question. 11th. We have just discussed it. Quickly read the question and send in the correct option. There are 25 questions, I suppose. I want to discuss all of them. So quickly. So dividend income is recognized in the statement of profit and loss when the entity's right to receive payment of dividends is received. It is probable that economic benefits associated with dividend will flow to the entity. The amount of dividend can be measured reliably, all of the above. So the answer is what? D. Which of the following, I am on 12th question now, which of the following expenditure is not to be added to the cost of property, plant and equipment? The acquisition cost of the asset, addition to the asset that increases the earning capacity, expenditure incurred to minimize the cost of production, the expenditure in the form of general repairs on asset. So 12th के लिए Dikshita has answered correctly and Shubham has answered it correctly. Others also please reply. अच्छा 13th question abhi we haven't done, so 13th will be done when we will be doing the topic of purchases. ठीक है, so 12th के लिए, so the correct answer is C. Acquisition cost तो आप करोगे capitalize. Additions to machinery that increases the earning capacity will be capitalized. Expenditure incurred to minimize the cost of production will be capitalized. So the correct answer is what? The expenditure in the form of general repairs, because this will be charged to the P&L. Okay, so 13th question is left. 14th is very easy. Which of the following is not correct? 52 relating to securities premium. Section 53 shares at discount. 54 issue of bonus shares. 68 issue of buyback of shares. So it is this C. Why? Because 54 is relating to your sweat equity shares. Okay. Now, with respect to which of the following, I am on 15th question. Okay. So थोड़ा सा speed up करते हैं. So 13th we have left. 14th I have told you, because that is a very straightforward question. 15th question. Quickly send in your reply with respect to 15th question. With respect to which of the following passing of special resolution is required by the company? Sweat equity shares, reduction of share capital, both A and B, none of A and B. स्पेशल रेजोल्यूशन कहाँ चाहिए आपको? स्वेट इक्विटी शेयर्स के इशू में, रिडक्शन ऑफ शेयर कैपिटल में, दोनों में, या किसी में भी नहीं? So Guduru, Manisha Dikshita, Shubham, Darshan Diksha, Himanshu. Absolutely correct. So sweat equity shares में भी special resolution चाहिए and reduction of share capital में भी. So the answer is what? B. Sorry, C. Both A and B. The answer to 15th is what? C. ठीक है? Now, if you remember, when we were doing the disclosure requirements, I've asked you that such kind of questions are very good with respect to for forming MCQ questions, है ना? Such topics. So now tell me, मैंने वहीं पर आपको स्टार मार्क करवा दिया था. 16th question. The disclosure with respect to current maturities to long-term borrowing shall be disclosed under which of the following head in the balance sheet? Current maturities to long-term borrowings. ठीक है? So is it long-term borrowing? Is it short-term borrowings? Is it other current liabilities? Is it cash and cash equivalents? And I can see a number of different answers, which is not good. Quickly send in your replies. Quickly send in your replies. Sixteenth. So some of you are saying C, some of you are saying A, some of you are saying B. Why so? The disclosure with respect to current maturities to long-term borrowings shall be disclosed under which of the following head in the balance sheet? Long-term borrowings, short-term borrowings, other current liabilities, and cash and cash equivalents. And when we were discussing, I told you that you will get this question and you will definitely mark the wrong option, which many of you have done. So देखो long term borrowing, so though it is mentioned long term borrowing here, but what is the full phrase? Current maturities to long term borrowings, that is which are falling due within the next 12 months. So it will be shown where? Under the head short term borrowings. Remember? ठीक है, लॉन्ग टर्म बोरोविंग्स में नहीं आएगा, अदर करंट लाइबिलिटीज में नहीं आएगा, कैश एंड कैश इक्विवेलेंट्स में नहीं आएगा. ठीक है, लेट मी जस्ट शो यू इन द मॉड्यूल. सो सी स्टूडेंट्स, ये तो आपको करेक्ट आंसर देना चाहिए था, because this I have already told you कि we will be discussing this question and I told you that you will be, many of you will be giving wrong answer. So see, long term borrowings था, short term borrowings was there, and the last point, see, I marked it as very important. Current maturities to long term borrowing shall be disclosed separately where? Short term borrowings में. ठीक है. So Rushabh is saying, ma'am, is there any strategy to secure exemption in audit? Yes, there is a strategy. You will have to listen to these sessions with concentration, go through this module in entirety. Maximum of your paper will come from the module. Consider your module as a base. If you have gone through the module once, twice, you have listened to these sessions, concentration के साथ पढ़ा है, keywords को pick किया है, I'm sure that you will be passing this subject with flying colors. And the students in our earlier batches, there were students who have secured, exemption, and they have specially came to the next batch in order to thank us that they have secured a rank or they have secured exemption in auditing and assurance subject. So no rocket science, just listen to these sessions, go through the modules, pick up the keywords, Hannah. I'm sure you all will be able to pass your exams with flying colors. My best wishes are always with you. So we are on 16th question. Which of the following shall not to be disclosed. So don't get confused. It is mentioned not to be disclosed under the head other current liabilities. Interest accrued but not due on borrowings. Interest accrued and due on borrowings. Long-term maturities of finance lease obligations. Unpaid dividends. Quickly send in your replies. Don't get confused. Read these options carefully, है ना? Then only you will be able to give what correct answers. Quickly send in your replies. So Shubham, I can see that with respect to 16th question you were confused, है ना? Doesn't matter. This will only help you, to give correct answers, to understand as to how to give the correct answers. Now, other current liabilities में क्या नहीं आता? तो shall not to be disclosed. So interest accrued but not due on borrowings तो आता है. Interest accrued and due on borrowings भी आता है. ठीक है? Unpaid dividends भी आता है. But long term maturities of finance lease obligations, will it come here? Quickly send in your replies. So the option is what? B. Sorry. Just a minute. The option is what? Long-term maturities of finance lease obligations. Is it clear? Is it clear? Quickly send in your replies. And I can see Himanshu, Rajiv Kumar, Darshan, Dikshita, Bhumika, Dikshita, Shubham, Guduri, Manisha have answered it correctly. Any doubt? Ajay, tell me, long-term maturities of finance lease obligation, where will it come? Under which head? Abhi, I am on 17th point only. So it will come under the head long-term borrowings. Okay. Now, which of the following, I am on 18th question, which of the following shall not be disclosed liabilities? That is deferred payment liabilities, unpaid matured debentures and interest accrued thereon, bonds and debentures, long-term maturities of finance lease obligations. So this is long-term borrowings basically. So ठीक है. Now send in your reply with respect to 18th point. Quickly send in your replies. So deferred payment liability तो borrowings में ही आता है, long term borrowings में. Bonds and debentures will also come here. Long term maturities of finance lease obligation, ये अभी हमने पढ़ा, ये भी आएगा. Unpaid matured debentures and interest accrued. This is the right option. Under which head will it come now? Tell me. Quickly send in your replies. 18th May, my next unpaid matured deposits and interest accrued कहाँ आता है? Other current liabilities में. ठीक है? ठीक है? 19th question. Obtaining trade receivable aging report and analysis and identification of doubtful debts is performed during audit of accounts receivable to address the following assertion. Is it valuation, rights, obligation, existence, or completeness? Obtaining trade receivable aging report, analysis, and identification of doubtful debt. Quickly tell me. Quickly send in your replies. This is the, we will cover till 20th question. So 19th question. Quickly send in your replies. Students, quickly send in your reply. There are total, just a minute. So see, so the answer is was valuation, है ना? Valuation में ही तो आप aging report लेते हो, identification of doubtful debt करते हो, in order to address what valuation. And this is the last question. Search for unrecorded liabilities performed during the audit of current liabilities to address the following balance sheet assertion. Unrecorded liability. Valuation है, rights and obligations है, existence है या completeness है. Quickly send in your replies. This is the last question for today. I hope after answering these questions, you are able to gain confidence. So, Dikshita, Himanshu, you are correct. Others also please reply. So see students, all the answers are given here. If any of you has any confusion, you can check these. With respect to case scenarios also, the answers are given, but yes, we will be discussing the case scenario tomorrow. And still check might be today you are able to see those questions, otherwise I'll check with the IT. So the answer is what? Completeness. Why? Unrecorded liability की बात हो रही है ना, so the answer is was completeness. Shubham, yes, you will definitely get MCQs now. Go through MTP that is there on the BOS knowledge portal. I hope you all are aware about the paper format. ठीक है? So I can see many of you have answered to this 20th question also correctly. So I'll do one thing. We will stop here, Hannah, and I'll see why you are not able to download these questions. So tomorrow, definitely you will be able to see the questions. So before coming for the session on Saturday, now please go through the MCQs, the case scenarios and the descriptive also, okay? Because we have a lot of topic to cover in the next session, which is the last session with respect to chapter number 9, है ना? So taking all the descriptive type questions won't be possible in that session. So case scenario and MCQ I'll definitely cover up. Descriptive question के लिए I'll request you to please go through those questions at home and we can discuss the query part only. ठीक है? So thank you for giving me the extra 5-7 minutes and I hope you all have actually enjoyed answering these MCQs. ठीक है? So again, before coming for the next session, what is the homework? That is you have to read till the topic of what? Other income, till where we have covered this chapter. Okay? So thank you and good night. See you on Saturday now.